What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel. We continue with our 2025 predictions for the upcoming 2025 college football season. Stanford is up next, coming off a pretty rough year, as always, last year in 2024. I wouldn't say always, but they're just coming off a pretty rough season, going 3-9 overall. Now, this was not the worst Power 4 team in the country last year. Last year was definitely Florida State, and they were not the worst team in the ACC, surprisingly, but again, it was a struggling year. It's a new era for Stanford again in 2025. They don't have a normal head coach. They just have an interim head coach. You look at this team for 2025, my thoughts on them. I don't think this team is going to be very good. I'll be honest, for Stanford, the roster is just not there for them. It's really about how this roster does and, the playmakers that they have on this team. You got some question marks basically at the quarterback position. You got Elijah Brown back at quarterback. We saw him play last year. We'll see how well he develops this season. Running back position, you got Micah Ford, a pretty good player there for Stanford. He might be the go-to guy on this team, but a bunch of new players all around this team. I think offensive line is probably the biggest question mark in my opinion. Not really any major weaknesses on this team, but again, it's really all about the roster and really all these players stepping up and being really talented playmakers as well. The schedule is pretty tough again for Stanford. Again, here is that schedule for 2025. Again, this team was 3-9 last year in 2024. So let's go game by game, and I'll give you my official prediction for this Stanford football team for 2025. They actually kick off things with a Week 0 game on the road here at Hawaii on August the 23rd. So yeah, they play a Group of 5 team to kick off the season, and they will play Hawaii on the road. So I don't expect much of a pretty tough game here for Stanford. I mean, you never know. Maybe Hawaii does surprise Stanford here, and maybe they can pull off some kind of upset. And Stanford does kind of tend to struggle with some of these Group of 5 teams. They're kind of like the Vanderbilt out of the SEC. They're kind of like also the Vanderbilt in the ACC, where they are the worst team in the in their respective conference, and they do tend to struggle against these Group of 5 teams. But I think they're going to clearly win this game. I do tend to favor the Power 4 teams against like these Group of 5 teams, and then also some of these schools that used to be a Power 4 team as well. So I think Stanford gets an easy win here against Hawaii. I'm going to say that's like a 14-point win, somewhere in that particular range, and I got them starting off 1-0. Then they play a road game against BYU on September 6th. So yeah, they have a Power 4 game here a couple weeks later. They actually get a bye week here before playing the Cougars. I don't think that bye week is going to help out though really much here. BYU's just got too much experience, and I know they got some options at quarterback now with Jake Raslett probably gone. And yeah, BYU is probably going to have some question marks, but still, I think the Cougars are going to be just fine. This should be still a top contender in the Big 12, and so I think BYU does get the win here. That's going to give Stanford their first loss of the season, and that's going to put them at 1-1. Then they play Boston College to open up conference play on September the 13th. Boston College is a team that could be solid, on both sides of the football. They're not going to be a really bad team. They could be just an average team. Stanford does get this one at home, so it's a pretty good opportunity for maybe Stanford to get a win here right away in the conference. But yeah, I think Boston College might be slightly better than Stanford in terms of program-wise. Boston College actually had a pretty solid year last year, so I think this Boston College team has got something going for them in the future. And yeah, this is a game that Stanford can definitely pull off a huge win, because Boston College has to travel out west and everything. But I got to go with Boston College here to get the win. I think they're the better team here on paper, so that's going to drop Stanford now to 1-2. Then it's a road game at Virginia on September the 20th. This is a pretty even matchup. Both teams definitely have a lot of question marks on both sides of the football, but Virginia does get this one at home, so I think home field advantage will be the difference. I'm going to say that the Cavaliers will win this game, and I'm going to say that Stanford will drop now to 1-3. But then I got them beating San Jose State. I don't think that will be an easy game though here on September 27th. San Jose State's a pretty good quality Group of 5 team out of the Mountain West, and I kind of do expect them to be pretty good this year. So yeah, I think Stanford does win that game, but it's only by a couple of touchdowns, just like the Hawaii game, and that's going to put them here at 2-3. And then they get their second bye week before going on the road to play SMU on October the 11th. Yeah, no chance here for Stanford Stanford in this one. I think SMU is just going to be way too good for Stanford here to go up against. Yeah, SMU is playing at home, so they should be able to be the better team, and so I think the Mustangs do win this one pretty easily. So that's going to drop Stanford now to 2-4. Then they got Florida State at home next here on October the 18th. This will be a home game for Stanford, so maybe a pretty good time here to actually be competitive here in this one. The Seminoles, though, I think Florida State's going to be a little bit better. Not a lot better to where they're going to be like a top team in the ACC or anything like that. But you never know. Florida State has to travel out west, and they probably could tend to slip up here. But I think Stanford is going to come up just short. I think Stanford will come up just short of, making it, a competitive game, and then also potentially an, upset win, because I think the Seminoles will be favored, but not by much since they have to travel out west. But I think Stanford does lose to Florida State. Pretty close game, but I'm going to go with Florida State to win that game, and that's going to drop Stanford now to 2-5. Then they go on the road to play Miami on October 25th. Kind of similar to the SMU game and BYU game. Yeah, no chance here for Stanford in this one. I think Miami clearly is the better team, and yeah, they're going to have a lot more talent. So I think Miami does win this one, and that's going to drop Stanford now to 2-6. So yeah, the season is already on the line here going into the month of November. They have to win pretty much these final 4 games in order to get to a bowl game. It's just not going to happen, though, in my opinion. You got Pittsburgh next. I think this is a pretty even matchup. Pittsburgh, they do have to travel out west and everything, and that's probably going to give them a little bit of trouble. But still, I think on paper Pittsburgh is the better team, and they're definitely a well-coached team. So I think Pittsburgh does get the win, and yeah, that's going to probably not get Stanford to a bowl game after basically losing that game. That's going to drop them here at 2-7. And then they go on the road to play North Carolina next year on November 8th. The Tar Heels, they do have a lot of depth issues, a lot of new players on that roster with Bill Belichick taking over. But yeah, North Carolina might be a team that you don't want to play in the month of November. Plus, this one's on the road, so I think Stanford, maybe they kind of surprised North Carolina just a little bit with a depth concern for the Tar Heels. But still, North Carolina, I think, is a little bit of a better team, but maybe not. North Carolina definitely is playing at home, so that should be the difference here, and I think the Tar Heels do win that game. So that's going to drop now Stanford to 2-8, and then they get their third bye week. Remember, every team that plays a week 0 game, they get their third bye week of the season, and they will play Cal here at home on November 22nd. I actually picked Stanford to win this game against Cal to win. Cal is definitely the better team in my opinion. They did lose their starting quarterback though, and plus Stanford does get a bye week before playing this game, which does help them out. And I think if there was one big win on this schedule for Stanford this year, it's probably going to be this game against Cal. I don't think they're going to go winless here in this conference, and I don't think they'll be the worst team in the ACC either. So yeah, I think Stanford actually does get the win here. So I'm going to say they get a big win over Cal here for their first conference win of the season, and that's going to give them their third win. But it's really not going to be even close to making it to a bowl game. But you got Notre Dame here to close things out the year on November 29th. This will be a home game here for Stanford. Yeah, no shot here in this one. I think Stanford's going to get blown out in this one. Yeah, Notre Dame is just going to be too really good on both sides of the football, especially at running the football as well. And yeah, I think Notre Dame does clearly win this game. They are the more talented team. So that's going to put Stanford at 3-9. That's what I got them finishing here in 2025. So yeah, I think Stanford probably around that 2, 3, or 4 win mark. I would say 4-8 is probably their best case scenario, and then definitely worst case is 2-10. I would be shocked if this team does get to 5 wins. Maybe they pull off another win here on this schedule in the ACC. Maybe they can pull off a huge win against Boston College or Pittsburgh. That might be the best possible games they can probably get to 5 wins, and then also they can probably slip up in one of these group of 5 games. But yeah, still Stanford's got a long way to go before they can get back to where they used to be as a program, because this team used to be a powerhouse. So I got this team going 3-9. So that's my prediction here for Stanford for 2025. Do you guys agree or disagree with this prediction? Give me your prediction for Stanford down in the comments below. Thank you for watching this video, and stay tuned for more sports content videos on my Lucas Ross Sports YouTube channel.